What's going on, you guys? This is Brooks from Anderson. Today, I'm here to tell you guys a story of how I got my C55. I've mentioned it a few times of telling the story on the channel, but I figure with the whole world kind of at the stay-at-home mode, no better time than now. So, let's get into it. This is how I got my C55. So it all started, where do I start? Originally, back in the day, I had always wanted some type of AMG. The first one I saw when I was around 16, 17, looking for cars on Craigslist and things, I just happened to see a C43 AMG at the time and a couple C36s. And when I saw those, I loved the shape of the W202. W202 is actually one of the first cars I got. We'll talk about that in a second, but I just love the shape of the W202 and the power that those cars could put out for being such relatively small, nimble kind of cars. So I never got to really see one in person for a long time. I never test drove one for a long time, but I just remember seeing them when I was at that age, and they were way out of my price range because they were still relatively newer per se. They were still old, but still, more than I could afford at that time for my first couple cars. So later down the years, many cars later, it seemed achievable to try to find an AMG of some sort. And this is when I had actually acquired already my first Mercedes, which was probably like my 10th car. But I actually purchased a 99 C230 compressor. It was black. I'll try to pop that up on screen now. I loved that car. Having gained the experience of working on this myself, it came time that the AMG bug started to kind of itch again, and I started seeing E55s a lot, the W210s, and I felt like that was a attainable type of car that was, from what I had read, really strong, really reliable, easy to work on relatively, and could go for a long time. And for me, was plenty power and plenty, fun for me to have, and very useful four-door. I'm much more into sedans after having coupes and stuff back in the day, but sedans are just way more practical for me. So I started looking, and I found one that was awesome. I found a Tech-Type Gray W210 E55. It was a local, one owner again. Didn't get that one. And I end up getting into an accident. It was enough to bend the front core support pretty bad on the W202. Their car was fine, and they were fine. Everyone was fine, so it was okay. But I was sad to see that car go, and I figured the insurance was probably going to total it. They did. So I looked and looked and looked for an AMG. I still wanted the E55 at that time. I was looking like crazy on Craigslist, on everywhere. And I just couldn't find anything. After not finding any AMGs that I liked that were in good shape, I ended up finding a W203 C230 compressor that was crazy low mileage. It only had like 40-some thousand miles on it. One owner again. It was from Minnesota, but I thoroughly looked over the car. There was no rust or anything. It had been taken care of and had service records, everything. So I picked that car up for, I think, out the door at the dealership. They were asking a premium because it was such low mileage, kind of unheard of for that time. It was a 2004, and I think I paid out the door about $8,900 for it, which is a lot for that car. But with the mileage and the service history, and the dealership that I bought it from was a really, really good dealership. One of the only good dealerships that I would recommend. Championship Motors in Redmond, Washington, if you guys ever need a place to check out. And that car was awesome. It was a great car. I road tripped it to California with my wife, down to San Diego and back, to Oregon and back a bunch of times. And it was an awesome car. I didn't ever have to do anything with it. I had it for maybe a year and a half, 2 years. And just easy maintenance, put tires on it. I did a thermostat. That was really the only thing I had to do. So this is where it starts. where the C55 pops up on Craigslist and my wild debacle begins. The C55 pops up on Craigslist. You know, me being an avid car enthusiast, I'm always on Craigslist anyways. I still am nowadays, even though I have the two cars I want. I'm always on Craigslist scouring and just seeing what pops up, just keeping the ear to the game and seeing what's going on. So I see the C55, and at the time, I think Legit Street Cars Alex had just posted a video. You guys can go see it, or I'll pop it up on screen, about how the C55 was one of the most reliable AMGs that ever, or, cars that ever built. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. Very similar to the E55, same drivetrain, a little more nimble, a little updated transmission, a little updated suspension. Very similar car to what I just had, the W203. It's like a blend of the W203 and W209. I was like, this would be awesome if I could get this thing. So I started daydreaming about it. It was really not the most sensible move at the time. It was just like, this is going to be really complicated. How am I going to get my car to sell? How am I going to do this? So it begins. Now, this dealership, I guess I'll just say who they are. Their names are MC Euro. They're in Tacoma, Washington. And, at first look, I wouldn't say they're a bad dealership. They have this car. I get in contact with them like, hey, what's the story on this car? The guy that was there couldn't really tell me much about it. He kind of it got turned into Mercedes of Tacoma, or no, Toyota of Tacoma, sorry. And Toyota didn't know what to do with it. They're like, this is not going to sell in our lot. So they basically sold it to the smaller lot. And they had it up for sale. And they were spamming it all over Craigslist. I mean, there was like 10 ads for this car, just back to back to back to back. And I was like, okay, they're not going to be able to sell this car because I think it had 136,000 miles on it at the time. It had a lot of owners, so that scares people away right when they see the Carfax. Didn't have a ton of service history, had some, but not a lot. And it came from the East Coast. So all things considered, had I not gone out and seen it and just looked at the details of it, I'd have been like, this is a bad move. Walk away, walk away, walk away. But it looked really clean. And the dealership had relatively good reviews. I think they still have like a 4.4 rating, even though some of the ratings are some of the reviews are terrible. But in the majority, if you do your homework, and this is my philosophy, if you do your homework and you go to a dealership and you know what to look for, and they're not playing any super shady games, I mean, they're dealerships, so they're going to try to get you some way or another most of the time. But if you really pay attention and you know what to look for and you know cars, or you bring somebody with you that knows cars, I think you have a good chance of, finding yourself a good deal and not, putting yourself head first into something that's not, doable. So I went down and looked at it. I was like, I wasn't even telling my wife at the time, like, I gotta go see it. I'm not even gonna bother her with this. She's gonna be like, what are you doing? So I'm just like, I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna go see it. If it's worth, continuing from there after I see it and drive it and touch it, then I'll go from there. So I get down there. I don't even tell them what I have for my car. I don't tell them, my history, Mercedes, or anything that I know about the cars. I just go and look at it. I talk with the guy. And he's a younger guy that works there. He's not like the guy who runs the place. So he doesn't know that much. He's a cool guy, but he doesn't know that much about the car or anything like that. So I start going through it. I can tell right away it has a bad battery because it needed to get jumped to start, and it wouldn't hold a charge after running for a little bit. So I knew the battery was bad. Right when I got in the car, it told it needed a quart of oil. And besides that, everything else looked fine. It had no crazy leaks. I looked all throughout the car underneath. There was no rust. Everything worked mechanically and electronically. Stereo was fine. The only thing that was bad had the bubbling stereo, classic from all W203s. I got that same stereo, or Mini Mercedes, I got that stereo. The plastic laminate peels off. It was kind of bubbling. It wasn't even that bad. Man, everything else was great. the other thing inside, the shift bezel trim had a crack in it. Um, so it was kind of moving around when you would go to shift it, which I knew that was super easy to fix and cheap. So I didn't worry about that. Um, I use it as a bargaining chip though, because if I show them the part, you have to buy the whole thing with the electronic controller in it. So that's a $200 part or so. So I use that to my leverage, even though I knew I could do something different. But anyways, looking at the car overall and driving it, the first time I drove it, I was like, this is crazy. Like I had driven the E55 before, and that same sensation of just like how much torque the M113 provides when you're coming from, a supercharged four cylinder to that is just a wildly drastic difference. And I just fell in love with it from the get go. As soon as I, got the car warmed up and I was on the street and went off to kind of private area and did some launches, I was just like, this is insane. I gotta have it. And I know that sounds funny because it's not like a crazy amount of power, but I just loved it, the feeling of it, and just how solid it felt. And that's the reason I've kept the cars for this long, and why I wanted another M113 AMG. So, anyways, so here begins the long process of bartering back and forth and finagling and finessing a deal and trying to. It's just crazy. So after I look at the car for a long time, I pull it to the side. I'm like, hey, like, let me show you like my car. I want you to see something and see, what you guys would think about trying to trade these. What could we do? So I bring them over and I'm like, hey, like this car, I'm the second owner. It's super clean, nothing wrong with it, nothing mechanically, it needs nothing. It's all brand new brakes, brand new tires, fresh oil change, air filters, thermostat, all the stuff. Like this thing, like whoever got that car got a really good deal. I hope, if they paid the right amount for it. But that thing was like so cared for and was gonna last a long time. Somebody's gonna care for it. So he started looking at it. He's like, okay, like I could tell he was kind of getting the feeling of like, oh, if I do this deal, my boss is really gonna like this because we could sell this car easily, and we are not gonna be able to sell this C55 because such a niche market, higher mileage, a lot of owners, they were having a tough time selling it. So I knew that. I think they knew that, and he kind of bit on my bait of, can you take this car for a trade? So he's like, let me take some pictures of it. He started taking pictures, sent it to his boss, and I said, okay, I'll be in contact. Let me know what your boss thinks. Go home, and I call him the next day, like, hey, what do you think? And the boss basically, I told him like, we're not interested. It's not a deal. So I'm like, let me talk to your boss. Like, what's his number? Let me call him. Let me talk to him. So I call the boss, and this guy's just like straight up like businessman from the get go. Like, no means no. Just kind of being a jerk about it. Like, you don't even know what you're doing. Like, your car's worth nothing compared to the C55. This is a rare collector's car. This is, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I get what you're saying. I'm interested in it, obviously, but you need to know what the market is. Like, nobody's trying to buy this car from a dealership in Tacoma with this amount of miles, with this amount of owners. Like, you guys don't know that much about it. It needs some service, obviously. Like, you guys are going to have a tough time selling this. And I'm telling you this right now. Like, I'm here to buy it. I'm ready to make a deal. But you're going to keep waiting, and the price is going to keep going down. Because if you guys make me wait, then, that's how it goes. So it basically leads to nothing. He sticks firm. He's being stubborn. Yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. I let a couple days go by. I'm like, man, maybe this is not going to work out. It's not, not seeming too good right now. So I'm like, I'm not going to try to sell my car. That's just such a hassle. I'm not going to try to sell my car and then be without a car and try to get down to Tacoma to buy it. Like, it's just so much. That's like 50 plus miles from where I was living at the time. So week goes by, week and a half goes by, and I'm like, man, I just still really want the car. So I reach out again. I'm like, hey, like, what can we do? Like, that's the other thing I forgot. I owed, I think, $4,600 on the C230 at the time. So that was another kind of thing that was difficult for them to navigate and trying to make a trade with this. And I was like, look, like, you guys pay off my car, and you guys are gonna make up the profit because you guys are gonna pay, $5,000 for my car. You're gonna make, you know, 3 or 4 grand on top of that, depending on what you sell it for. And then they had listed the C55 for, I think they first had it listed for almost 10,000. Then they moved it down to 8,900, and then 7,900. This is how long they were waiting. I mean, I think in the end, I think like 2 or 3 weeks had gone by, maybe 4 weeks. And basically, what we ended up doing after a long process is I drove my car down there. The last phone call, I was leaving work, and the boss comes on the phone and he's like, "Look, like, you really want this car?" And I'm like, "Yes, I really want this car. There's a reason I keep calling back. Like, I understand you guys are trying to make your profit off of it, but like, this is not the one. Like, move on with this one. Let me take it from you and make some money on my car where you guys will be able to sell it easy." So he's like, "Look, if you really want this car, just come and get it." I'm like, "Now?" And he's like, "Yeah, like, come and get it." So I leave work. I drive an hour, 2 hours with traffic to get down there to Tacoma. I'm like last minute before they're closing. They're closing at like 6:30. I get there at like 6 o'clock. The deal was they had added the quart of oil it needed, and they gave me a new battery, which they gave me like a used battery, so they kind of cheaped out on that. So the story doesn't end here. It gets crazier after this. All that finagling, I traded across. I take all my stuff out of my car. I'm like, oh man, am I doing the right thing? Like, I'm kind of scared. I'm actually transferring everything from my car over to this car. Like, I'm getting ready to drive away in it. I'm giving them the keys to my car. Like, it's getting scary. Like, I'm signing paperwork. What we had basically settled on was, in the end, I basically swapped out my loan for the car. Like, in the end, I don't know what the exact deal was, but I basically went from a $4,600 loan to like $6,600. So I basically paid, less than 2 grand to get this car in my name and to trade the car over. So I basically swapped loans for my car, and got to drive away with the C55. Didn't have to worry about selling my car. So everything worked out in the end. I feel like I still got paid the right amount for my car that I got traded in. And if I compare the prices of what they were worth at the time, especially now what they would be worth at the time, I was okay paying the difference for that, for my car, trading for the C55. Now, it's not happy ever after right from there. It was a stressful day after that, to say the least. Now, in my thorough process of looking over the car, for some reason, I didn't thoroughly inspect the tires. Now, I thought I did. I had a flashlight under there and everything. I looked at the grooves and, back of the tire, looking at the width and everything. I was feeling them around. They were not dry rotted. They were fine. But I don't know how I missed it. I was looking at the control arms, everything. I looked at all the suspension, everything under the car. I was digging around. I don't know how I did not notice on the inside of the wheels how worn out these tires were. I don't know. So I drive away. I get about a couple miles from the dealership. The car needs gas, so I go to fill it up. And when I get to the gas station, I notice that this giant chunk of tire is like hanging off of the rim, like right where it's meets on the outside edge, where it's meeting the lip of the rim. It's got this big chunk kind of just hanging off. Now, not all the way through the tire, not something crazy, but I was just like, that is weird. Did I clip something on the way over here? Like, what's going on? So, I didn't think much of it. I should have looked under the car at that point, but I don't know why. I was just so excited or something, and I don't know. My excitement got the best of me or something. So I go onto the freeway, onto the highway. I'm on the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, if you guys know this area. Very isolated. It's like one or two lanes most of the time. Long stretch of bridge. If you get on that, you're not gonna be able to turn around for a while. And I start hearing this clunking. And at this point, I'm sure you guys can imagine, but trading away a very reliable car, trading away a very safe car, something that I know would have no issues, that had brand new tires, my heart sank to my ass. And I felt so guilty and remorseful and just like, oh shit, what the hell did I just do? Is this car breaking right after I buy it? Did my engine just catastrophically fail? Is my transmission going out? It was a terrible feeling. So I pull over. The car like starts going into like limp mode, I think. Traction control lights coming on, and I'm just like, oh shit. Now I didn't have a scan tool. I can't remember if I did or not. I think I might have actually, but I didn't have much. I mean, I just spent all the money I had pretty much to like finesse the rest of this deal, and we had some other expenses coming up. Like I think this was, I don't know, man. I just know money was tight at that time, and I basically almost zeroed us trying to make this happen. Not smart. I don't advise this, but I wanted the car, and so I pull over to the side, and my tire is flat. The back rear right tire is flat, like flat, no hopes. And I look on the inside, this thing is blown out, like the worst blown out tire I've ever seen. The inside of the rim is just guts blasted all over the place. The rubber is shredded. Now the rim still looks fine, luckily, because I had slowed down a lot, like right away. But I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm in a place where I don't really know the area. I don't know where tire shops are. It's like 7:30. Everything's gonna be closing. Discount Tires closing or closed. All the tire shops are closing. I'm, in all better words, I am okay. I don't know what to do. I started looking at my phone. My phone is running out of battery. I have no charger, and I'm trying to find a place to get a tire from that's not closed in Tacoma, that's relatively close when I'm on this bridge that's miles and miles long. I'm nervous as hell. Now I don't want to I don't want to call my wife. I don't want to call my stepdad. I don't want to call anybody because then I'm gonna have to come with the guilt that I just did this stupid ass move of trading my car for this car and it blew up a tire on my way home right after buying it. I did not want to deal with that. So I gotta handle this on my own. Now, luckily, this has all the spare tire, has all the spare tools, everything I need. So I get a hold of this used car or used tire shop in Tacoma, and I'm like, hey, like, do you guys have a tire in the size or something that will work? I just need something quick. Doesn't have to last forever, but I need something that'll last at least to get me home. Like, I know you guys are closing soon. Can you guys hang on until I get there? And this lady, she's super nice, man. I'm gonna plug this tire shop. I can't remember what it is, but they're super dope for doing what they did. Um, she was like, hey, like I understand, like if you can get here in 15 minutes, like we'll hang on, but and we'll keep working after we're closed to fix you up. But if you can't get here before we close, like there's not really anything I can do. Like I gotta send my guys home. She was super nice, so I'm like, oh, man, like I'm gonna try. Like it says I'm about 10 minutes away on the GPS. I'm gonna try to get there, like, but I'm running on a flat basically, so please, like, hang on as long as you can. And I'm basically, all right, I gotta go. I changed this tire, like, I'm working like I'm a NASCAR so quick, like with the manual everything. Like I jacked the car up with the little manual jack. I flipped the spare out. Now it's one of the pump up spares, but I do not have time to compress that thing with air. I'm not going through all that. It's barely filled with air, but I'm like, it's just gonna have to do. I'm basically riding on rim, but at least I'm riding on this rim and not the rim that's, worth something. So I take off. I'm basically in limp mode the whole way there. I think limp mode eventually goes off, like it figures itself out, it goes off. but I don't want to drive fast, so I take like all the back roads all the way there. Luckily, there's no traffic, so I get there pretty quick. But like right when they're closing or are supposed to close, it's like 8 o'clock on the dot, and I get there and I'm like, hey, like thank God. And she knows exactly who I am, obviously, because I told her what the car was. She's like, hey, we're gonna get you fixed up. Like, come back with me, pick out what tire you want. So I pick out a tire. I don't even remember the size I got, like just something that was gonna work. And I did both tires on the back just so they were even. They happened to have two of the tire size I needed, um, and they swapped them out. And I think I paid like maybe 180 bucks, and they gave like a warranty too. Like if anything fails in the first, I don't know, whatever thousands of miles, like I can come back and get my money back. But I was just like, dude, honestly, like I don't even give a shit. Like you guys, you earned this one. Like you guys saved my ass. Like I think I gave them $200, $20 for a tip, and I took off. I went home. Now my wife, the whole day, normally I get home from work at like 6 o'clock. So she's like, had been trying to call me. My phone is dead, and I get home and I literally just like fall onto the bed, like, oh my God, what the hell did I just do? And she's like, what happened? Like, what are you doing? And I was just like, come outside. And this made it all kind of feel better. Like the car ran great on the way home. Everything was fine after that. But man, that was the most stressful, intense moment of bringing her out. And she knew that I like really wanted this car because I had showed her and like talked about it. And she was like, she looked at it and it's silver, just like the W203 compressor I had. So she's like, what? Like, what is it? And I was like, look at it, like really look at it. And then she was like, oh, like that's the AMG, like that's what you wanted. And so yeah, like her parents came out and looked at it, and we were all like, going for test drives, and it was super fun after that. But man, what a stressful ass car buying, car trading scenario situation that I do not recommend to anybody. But it proved to be worth it because the car has been really solid since then. I've done tons of stuff to it just because I love the car and I want to make it as awesome as possible. But reliability wise, there's only been one hiccup, and that was with the conductor plate started going out. But it still didn't leave me stranded. It started acting weird, and I knew that it was a conductor plate from the symptoms and the codes that it was throwing. And that's the only thing that I really changed that needed to be changed. And those sometimes happen with these cars. With any 722.6 transmission, it's a common thing. So, yeah, besides that, the car's been awesome. It's probably the longest time span I've owned one single car. I've gone through cars really quickly in my life because I get bored. But I don't think I'll ever sell these cars, this and the M55. I just love them. I feel like they meet all the needs that I would want in a car, and all the just fun and reliable and safe and practical. They're just like, I don't know. I don't feel like you can beat them for the money. So yeah, long story I know, but yeah, that is how I got the C55. May you all, if you want a car like this, find a much smoother deal than what I had to endure. I am the 7th owner of this car, but the 6 previous owners, although it seems like a lot, must have taken care of it really well because it's held up great over the years. It's now approaching 160,000 miles and running beautifully, and made it all the way from New Jersey over to Washington. I don't know where it was in between. I think it went New Jersey, California, Washington. So I don't think it was, I think whoever had it in New Jersey must have been taking care of it, not driving it with any salts or anything. I don't know if they salt the roads that often, but it must have been taken care of. And I'm grateful to all those 6 owners because now I'm the 7th and I love this car. So don't let the cover scare you away right away on the car. I know that seems counterintuitive, but sometimes, the rare glimpses, sometimes it is worth going to check out a car, even if some of the details don't seem that user friendly. So trust your instinct, trust your mechanical gut and your mechanical sensibilities, and do a better job at examining tires than I did. I get tires very thoroughly when I'm buying cars nowadays. I learned my lesson. So glad everything was fine, and yeah, that's the story. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm gonna shrink this down as much as I can, but thank you guys. We're almost at 100 subscribers, by the way, which for me, not really pouring a ton of energy into this channel, it's just cool to have that many people to chime in and share the content with. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys are all staying safe and enjoying the break from our daily lives and the monotony. This is a new kind of scenario we're all in. So I hope you guys are finding different ways to enjoy it at home, or in isolated ventures outside. I'm still trying to get outside when I can, go for drives, go for walks, in isolated areas. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing good. Enjoy the video, and I will be finally working on the cars this week. Got some stuff to do the M155, and you guys know I've been waiting forever to do the spark plugs for the C55. I was just waiting for a little while. I was so busy with teaching online and stuff and getting used to that with the whole quarantine situation. So I've been waiting, put that stuff off for a little bit, but this week I got to get my hands wrenching. It's like my therapy. I just love doing it. So yeah, that's all. Thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy. I'm hoping this can start some new kind of videos of just talking, and I'll share some screen stuff while we're going through this video. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.